And after thanking you all for being here, I want to introduce our speaker today. Dr. Sharamit Abrahams has been a law firm consultant for over 30 years, and she focuses her practice in law firm and partner advisory in the following areas: people and performance, productivity, diversity and inclusion. And she also works with individual attorneys in how to find fulfillment in their practice, helps them when they're underperforming, and offers leadership guidance to managing partners. Um, Sharon has given over 300 keynote speeches for the American Bar Association, law firm networks, and in various law firm events, and is an accomplished author. She has published 3 books with the ABA and 125 plus articles. And just in case that's not enough, she's also the founder and executive director of the Young Partners Accelerator. Sharon, we're delighted to be here with you. So please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Eduardo. I'm exhausted just listening to that. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Today is a masterclass on basically what it means to be partner. So first things first, I love that most of you have your names written on your in your little boxes. So I appreciate that you've joined us with your full name and not just your firm name. So that just helps us know who's attended. So I appreciate that. I'd love for you all to find your chat box and go ahead and open chat, because that's a way that you're going to be able to communicate with me as well as Eduardo throughout the program. If a question comes to your mind, you can 100% unmute yourself and just ask the question, or you could put it in the chat and then Eduardo can share it anonymously with me and I can address it. If you'd like to put your smiling faces on the camera, I welcome that as well. And if you can find the little hand that goes up, you can certainly raise your hand that way, or you can raise your hand just this way too. And Eduardo will say, oh, wait, Sharon, somebody has a question or would like to add. So if we can get all of that situated, that will be really helpful. And to know that your chat boxes are open, if you would please go ahead and type in where you are attending from. I was so thrilled to see that we have people from literally around the world signed up for this program. So if you would put that in the chat. So Chris from Portland, Oregon, thank you very much. We have Boulder, Colorado. We have Poland. See, I told you people from around the world. We have Miami, Florida, which is my neck of the woods. We have Ontario. Love it. San Jose, Nova Scotia. Fantastic. So glad to have you all with us. All right. So I want to give you an overview of what we're going to do today. I have 3 main areas that I'm going to talk to you about. I have 4 polling questions that I'm going to give you. The polls are 100% anonymous, but it allows you all to see sort of who else is on this call and what their experiences might be. And that's helpful for you just in your journey as a new partner. Now, I know, because I looked pretty much all of you up when you signed up, that some of you are brand new partners. Some of you have been partners for a little bit of time, and some of you aren't even partners yet. So kudos to you for joining this now to learn the things that you need to learn to get yourself ready for partnership. So for those of you that are recent partners, just made recent partners, how do you feel? Put it in the chat. How do you feel? Great, fantastic, superb, overwhelmed, terrified, concerned? How do you feel? Share with us a little bit of elation, worried about, expectations. Go ahead and share. Excited for the future. That is the attitude I like, Tim. That's fantastic. Thank you. That's great. That's great. All right. We have complete career-wise. Ooh, are you complete though? Maybe not. Maybe not. We have some more things we're going to talk about. All right. I am going to start with, before I even get into content. All right. I'm going to start with, by show of hands this way, or by raising your hand. How many of you have actually read your partnership agreement? Come on, I want to know. You read your partnership agreement. Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. Those of you with no pictures, I can't see you raise your hand. All right. It's really interesting that I've been doing this type of training for 30 years. And I have dealt with partners who never read the partnership agreement. They signed the partnership agreement, but they never actually read the partnership agreement. So those of you who raised your hand that actually read it, good for you. And those of you who raised your hand because you signed it, but you didn't actually read it, I want to just remind you that there's information in that partnership agreement that you need to know about. There's your fiduciary responsibilities are written out. If you did make a capital contribution, that should be in there as well. But, and I hate to start with the negative right from the beginning, but there's information in there about disputes and dissolutions of the firm. Nobody's firm is going to dissolve. Okay, they're not. But all of that information is in there. And you're going to say, oh, Sharon, you're crazy for even bringing this last part up. Information about retirement is in there. I know, crazy, right? You just signed it and I'm already telling you about your retirement. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I do a lot of research and a lot of writing right now on succession planning and retirement, because we have a lot of baby boomers who are aging out of the system. And the partnership agreement may or may not have information in there about what their responsibilities are. And this is interesting for you to know, because as you grow in your career, because you're not complete in your career, but as you grow as a partner, you want to know what the succession planning is that's going on and where you fit into all that. So I'm starting at the end, at the beginning, but it's really important that you get that partnership agreement and you actually kind of read it pretty carefully. You tell your clients to read it, right? So you do it as well. All right. Next question I have for you is, how many of you went out immediately when you became partner and hired a CPA or an accountant or the equivalent in your country of somebody who does that? Raise your hand, put it up that you went ahead and did that. Or maybe a financial planner. This is an important part of it, because the way your money comes in as a partner, as an equity partner versus an income partner, and there is a difference. The way your money comes in changes your flow, your personal money flow. So you want an accountant, you want a financial planner. That's important for you, just as your career grows. And if you don't have someone like that, your law firm probably recommends people, or you've got colleagues that have a lot of people, all your colleagues have people that they work with. So I know that's kind of crazy too, right? All right, let's start with a poll. I would like to ask all of you, and if we could get our poll to pop up magically, that would be fantastic. This is a poll about any training that you received before or after your partnership that you made partner. So we'll just give it a 10 seconds and you guys can go ahead and vote. There are about 30 of you on the line. So hopefully we could get about 30 people to answer, which would be terrific. Interesting how this is going. None at all, which is why you all are here. So that's good. That's good. I'm glad you're joining us. All right. I think we could go ahead and end the poll, because we really see that very few firms actually. Oh, did we share the poll? Did everybody see it? Yeah. Shake your head if you saw it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Because I can't really tell what you guys see and what you guys don't see sometimes, to the magic of the technology. All right. So you guys are here because your firms didn't give you the training that you need, or the training that you desire, or that the training that you want. And so this is just a 1-hour masterclass, and I'm just going to be touching on important topics. It's not everything you need to know, because there's other programs, and I will talk at the end about a program that gives you all of the information, but this is to touch on the most important stuff. All right. So let's go to our next topic, and that's all the hats. And I was going to bring out a bunch of hats and put them on, but my daughter's like, oh, Mom, they'll think you're crazy. So I didn't do that. But you're not just wearing the title partner now. You were wearing a lot of different hats. And I want to go through the hats that you wear based on my experience, 30 years working with lawyers and law firms and running new partner orientations for 30 years. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I feel are important. But before I do that, I'd like to throw out another poll because I want you to think about your career. So our gentleman who, I see you on camera, but I don't want to pronounce your name. Maruz? How do I say your name? You see, you know exactly who you are.
Yeah. Marius would be the closest one. Yeah.
Yes. So you said complete that you made partner, but I'm telling you, maybe not so much. So let's put up the next poll, which is you thinking about your career progression and the things that you think are most important in your career. So if we could launch the next poll, your career growth, because you haven't met the pinnacle. You're not complete yet. So think about where you're going to build your career. All right, it's fluctuating back and forth, business development, client relations, right? So the two client focused ones are headed out front, right? And the two internal ones are not quite as out front, but that may be okay, maybe not okay. So we've heard from a good percentage of you, so we can go ahead and close it. We can close the poll right now. So thank you. The way that I spoke about this, just the words that I use, the client focus, the business development and being out there, that's what I call external. And yet there are internal things that you need to focus on. That's really an area that we could spend a whole hour discussing, but I want to touch on a few things. So everybody put business development as number one. Well, not everybody, but a lot of you put business development as number one. I'm going to get to business development in just a few minutes. We'll talk a little more detail about it. But yes, you believe that business development is important for your career success. Agreed, it is. But I would like to put out there that there's something equally as important. And you all did not measure it that way. You measured it as secondary. And that's your team leadership. And I do say the word team leadership. Now, I don't know the size of the firm that each of you are in. You may say, oh, Sharon, I don't have a team. It's just me. Okay. I would like to believe that each of you probably have an assistant or a secretary that helps you a little bit, even if they're a virtual assistant or part-time. Now it's not just you. You're part of a team. You're a team of two, but still a team. So I would like to put out there that along with the business development and the client relationship, which we'll talk about in a minute, that you need to focus on you as a leader, you as a manager of people. So there are two really important areas in this, and that's delegating work to others, even if it's just your assistant, getting things off of your plate so that you can do the business development and the client relations. But if you actually have a team and you have junior partners that work with you, if you have associates that work with you, senior associates, junior associates, if you have counsel of counsel, we have people from around the world, so I don't always know the terms that you use, principals, members, whatever you call those individuals, you could be part of a team. So if you are now a partner of a team or a partner on a bigger team, you're responsible to delegate that work. And when you delegate that work, what do you have to do? What do you have to do when you delegate work? I want you to answer that in the chat. What do you have to do when you delegate work? You just delegate and walk away? What do you do? This is an important piece. Set expectations. Excellent. Assure a plan is in place to get the task done. Follow up. Thank you, Douglas. Follow up. Follow up. Keep track of the assignments. Establish expected work product. Yes, 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 yes. All of you get it. You get it so much because you're remembering when you were an associate and work would come to you with no instructions or no guidelines or no way to go back to the partner with possible outcomes of the work that you've done. So the delegation piece and the training piece, and that's what I'm going to say, training the people, giving them the expectations is really important as well. When you create as a partner, even those of you who are non-equity income partners, when you create a strong team environment, even if you're just a team of two, what have you created? You've created a sense of loyalty. You've created a work environment that people want to come to. By show of hands, show of hands this way or electronically, how many of you actually do come to the office at least once or twice, if not more? How many of you actually come to the office? Raise your hands. Ooh, either a lot of people aren't listening or a lot of people don't come to the office anymore. So the problem is when you don't come to the office, it's hard to develop that tight-knit group and that leadership skills that you need to progress in the firm. It's one of the many hats that you need to wear. And I want to tell you a story. And if any of you have ever been in a training that I've done somewhere else, and some of you maybe have, I love to tell this story about this IP attorney. His name is Ray. I was with a large law firm and an entire practice came with him. It was 17 people. That's a huge group. Ray had a follower of 16 people. Some of them were attorneys, some of them were paralegals, and some of them were staff. Think right now, would you follow anyone? Would you get up and move your practice and follow somebody? Ever in your career? Think of these 16 people who have invested in Ray. He created that environment, that sense of loyalty by challenging people, by giving them good, challenging work, by giving them the training, the development that they needed, the support, set good expectations, and they literally followed him. And I know that at the firm that I was working with, this was the second firm that he had picked up his entire group and come to. That's what you want. That's a sign of success. If people are so dedicated to you, if your assistant, your team of just two of you is that dedicated that they would follow you to another employer, then you know you've done it right. So that's an important hat that you wear. Another hat that you wear, and I'm definitely not going to go through all the hats here because there's too many of them. Another of the hats, but an important firm hat. So you have personal hats and then you have firm hats. Another important firm hat, don't roll your eyes when I say this, it's performance reviews. And it's performance reviews of associates that you work with and staff that you work with. It's so important for the firm to get the feedback. You all know about and I'm just going to pick on assistant or staff member at this point, that everybody complains about and the firm never gets rid of because nobody actually is truthful in the performance review about that individual. That's why performance reviews are so critical and so important. And it's one of those hats that you have to wear at your firm. And if you don't know yet what that means because performance review process hasn't started for your firm, it'll probably kick into gear in September, October if you are on that cycle. If you're a summer cycle, you've probably already learned about that. But be really good and proactive with the performance reviews. That's a hat that's really important to wear. All right. And then the last hat that I want to talk about, because it bleeds into our next topic, is the hat of leadership skills beyond just leading your group. All right. The leadership skills of being a leader in the firm means stepping up, means raising your hand and saying, I'll take on that responsibility. And I do mean silly responsibilities like planning I know we just had Staff Appreciation Day in April. For those of you in the United States, we had Staff Appreciation Day in April. And you may have like the firm picnic or whatever, but I mean significant leadership skills, like saying to the firm, I would like to be in charge of, and pick something like the technology of the firm. I love technology. It's something I'm passionate about. Or looking at new software, or reorganizing processes, the way the firm works. Again, it depends on what your firm practice area is, what your practice, what your firm does, where you're located. But saying to your firm, I have ideas and I want to take the lead on them, shows them that they made the right decision to turn you into a partner. Okay, so with that, I'm going to take one breath and ask if there are any questions. And you can just unmute yourself and ask a question about the hats that people wear. Anybody have any questions? And while you're doing that, I dropped something on the floor that I actually want to read. So that gave me a chance to pick it up. No questions at this time? Yvonne, we're going to talk about finances in just a second. Anything that we've addressed at this point? This time is for you. This is an opportunity for you to ask. There are no silly questions when you move into this function. All right. Well, let's go on to the next topic. And this one has to do with expectations of firm leadership. So you answered what you believe to be your career expectations for yourself. Now I want you to put yourself into the partner's role. I wrote a whole article on this topic that came out last year. So maybe I could find it for you and send it out to you later. But partners' expectations and the individual expectations sometimes don't line up. So I want you right now to think about, if you were a firm partner, what would your expectation be of a new partner? And if we could open that poll, that'd be great. So this is what you think the leader's expectations are from you. Okay. So this is interesting. This is a very evenly processed here. So I love that. Oh, very closely, very close. Oh, stepping into the client management role has taken a back seat to the other ones, bringing in new clients and new work for yourself. Okay. All right. Excellent. So let's talk about that. All right. Let's talk about the leadership expectations related to new work and new clients. So I had the privilege of attending a workshop that was run inside a firm by a partner. And this partner created this wonderful, I can't share it, sorry, this wonderful little card that helped, and he gave it out to everybody who attended the firm, of where does work come from. And I just love this. So I'm gonna share it with you all so that you could think about this. So the easiest place to get work is from who? You all should know this. The easiest place to get new work would be from, come on, somebody put it in the chat. You know, from existing clients. Thank you. If you didn't get that one right, I'd be really concerned. Yes. So the easiest place to get work is from your current client. So for you personally, it's to get work from a current client in the area of work that you already do. The next one would be to get work from that same client in an area of work for someone else in your firm. Now, granted, I don't know all your firms. I said that before. And if you do real estate work and you don't happen to have a tax attorney, then you wouldn't be able to get tax work for the real estate deals that you're doing and cross-sell that. But if you focus on your current clients and find work for other people to do in your firm, that creates stickiness with that client, and that makes them like you better. You're supporting them better. All right, so we've got current clients. Obviously, then the next area would be to go out and get new clients. Now, that is a half-day workshop. And Eduardo, who introduced me at the beginning of the call, this is what he does for a living, is he does these types of workshops and teaches people how to do this. So it's the new client, the non-client person, and you want to bring them into the firm. But think about it exactly the way I said the current client. You want to bring them into the firm to bring work for you, but you could bring them into the firm to bring work for somebody else. So I'm going to share a story with you. I was working with a very large firm, and there was a young partner, a just made partner. He was a litigator. And he and I were having a conversation, and he said, Sharon, I don't understand how I'm going to walk up to people and say, do you want to sue somebody? I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a little difficult. I understand. And he said, I just don't get it. His name was Jeremy, and he was in New York. And I said, Jeremy, all right, I understand that. That's a hard thing to do. But as a lawyer, do you consider yourself a person who helps other people? He said, well, of course I am. I said, great. Then don't think of yourself as a litigator. Think of yourself as somebody who can help solve problems of friends and colleagues that you have. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, okay, you live in New York. He happened to be the son of a politician. So, wealthy, went to lots of good schools, knew a lot of fancy people in New York. And so just off the top of my head, I said, all right, you live in New York. Don't any of your friends in New York want to, buy or sell, a condo on Fifth Avenue for, I don't know, $20 million? And he just stared at me and he went, well, yeah. I'm like, okay. So go to your friend. This was a friend of his who happened to be like the daughter of somebody. And if I mentioned it, you would know. And he was saying that this friend of his wanted to sell her condo. And I said, then approach her and say, you've got the right real estate attorney to help your friend. And he said, I didn't realize I could do that. And I'm like, of course you can do that. The firm wants you to bring in clients. They don't care whether you do the work or somebody else. I mean, they do care, obviously, but they want you to bring in clients whether you do the work or somebody else does the work. And so that's why we could spend an entire half day on this topic. But I want you to think about the firm's expectation is just that you bring in the work, whether it's from a current client or from a new client, whether it's for you or for somebody else in the firm. They just want that revenue, right? And so think beyond yourself. And that's hard. And that requires you to learn about the other people you work with. And so another expectations that law firms have is for you to be a team player. If I was doing a PowerPoint, I'd have the picture of the two businessmen playing in a sandbox, because I like to say playing nice in the sandbox with each other. So you need to know who your partners are, right? And so find the ones that you connect with. If more than one of you became partner at the same time, it's considered a partner class. This is a great first step for you to get to know those individuals and then get to know the individuals that became partners last year. And you can focus on people that are around your same age and or generation, which is fine. But look beyond that. I was just talking to a partner who I'm coaching, who's getting ready to go to an all partner retreat next week. And I was coaching him on how to get the most out of the retreat. And that was to look for the people he'd like to know in the firm. It's going to be 1,000 lawyers at this retreat. It's a very large firm, 1,000 lawyers. And I said, find the people you want to meet, find someone who can do the introduction and be ready with good questions for them. Get to be a team player. It's really important. That is an expectation that a firm has. All right. Another expectation that a firm has, and I saw in here, I think it was Christopher, he said that as a regular partner, he's already handling HR and IT and finance issues and tax issues and accounting issues. I think Christopher must be with a relatively small firm if he's wearing all of those hats. But a firm expectation of a partner, and this is equity partner and a little bit income partners, a little bit different, is to understand the firm finances. And that's really important. How the firm makes money, what the firm spends money on, what that balance sheet looks like is definitely important. So make an appointment with your CFO, your bookkeeper, whoever, the finance operations, whoever, make an appointment and sit down with that person and say, explain it to me. I went to business school. A lot of lawyers didn't go to business school, so they don't know, they don't have an understanding of the debits and credits and, the liabilities and the assets and the equity and all that. It's okay. You don't need to know it. You don't know what you don't know. I'm telling you, the firm wants you through osmosis to figure it out. So make the appointment, sit down, and learn a little bit about what the firm is doing. Along with the finances, though, you need to understand the firm's strategic plan. This is another thing Eduardo does. He works with a lot of firms in helping them create strategic plans. So your firm may have a published strategic plan. It may be on your website, or maybe only your management committee or executive committee, whatever your firm calls that leadership group, maybe only they know it. I would venture to say that that's not a great idea, that only they know it. They should share it with everyone. And maybe they shared it, but you missed that meeting. Ask. Go to a member of that leadership team and say, do we have a written strategic plan? If we don't, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can you explain it to me? I'd like to understand how I fit in. It's really important that you understand for your own career what your firm is doing. And I'm going to give you a story. I was working with a woman who was very interested in, so here in the United States, we have elder care, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, whatever you want to call that type of work. She really was passionate about this type of work, and she wanted to make that her niche, and she wanted to create a whole practice for herself in this, elder care, not elder law, but actually the buildings that provide the care and all of that. And I said, her name was Wendy. I was like, Wendy, this is fantastic. But before you invest all your time and effort into becoming a thought leader and making, writing articles and doing speeches on it, go to the leadership of the firm and see if this fits within their strategic plan. I'm glad I told her to do that, because the firm said, no, thank you. That's not an area of law that we're interested in at all. And that gave her the opportunity to say, okay, heard, I could not pursue that and do what the firm wants me to do here and be successful, or I can follow my passion and go somewhere else. She chose to go somewhere else, and she made her passion come true. And that's the type of law that she practiced. And I'm telling you, that was 10 years ago. There's been a lot of changes in the elder care here in the United States. And she's been right on the cutting edge of all of that. So it was exciting to her to do. That's why it's important for you to ask, what is the strategic goals? And for those of you who are in firms that have more than one office, are the goals different for different offices? If you have a California office and an Arizona office, the strategic plans could be completely different. If you have offices all over the United States or all over the world, there could be different plans for each of those offices. So it's important for you to know your practice area, as well as your office, as well as the firm as a whole. Any questions about strategic plans, understanding it, before I move on to other expectations that firms have? And we have an expert, Eduardo, here, so he'd be happy to answer a question if you had a question I couldn't answer on that. Any questions about that? I don't see a question yet. Nope. Okay. All right. So another expectation that law firm leaders have of new partners is the client relationship. Now, we think about business development and what I was talking about in that area as client relationship, but that's not. That's getting more work. The client relationship is truly the care and feeding of the clients, not based on billable hour and not based on getting new work. It's making sure the clients are happy. So I want you guys to write into the chat What are some of the things that you do to make your current clients happy? What do you do to make your clients happy? Be responsive. Thank you, Jennifer. Manage expectations, communicate, connect on a personal level so they feel prioritized. Thank you, Tim. Tim, I'm going to call you out on that one. Would you be willing to unmute yourself? You don't have to go on camera if you don't want to, and talk to me, not me, excuse me, talk to all of us. How do you connect with them on a personal level and make them feel prioritized?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll ask them about, what's going on in their lives, about their kids, about their families. A lot of times I feel like I should just jump straight into business when I get on the phone with them. And taking that time in the beginning of a call to just catch up for a minute is really important and has paid dividends over the years.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So Tim, before you get off unmuted, do you write down anywhere the names of the kids, the dog, where they took their vacation? Like, how do you know who to ask? Because, you could have a client with, lots of kids.
I try to. Yeah. I wish I was better at that than I am. So that's something I need to work on more.
Okay. Terrific. So for all of you that use Outlook, there is a place in Outlook, called Notes, right on the file that you have for that client. Go ahead in there and write the birthdays, the anniversary dates, the fact they love apple pie, whatever it is, put it in your notes so that when you do make that phone call to what Tim said, where you want to jump in and just talk about business, you say, oh, I know you were sending your kid off to camp this summer. How did that go? It makes them feel, as Tim said, prioritized, but more than prioritized, like humans, like important. Tim knows who I am as a person. I'm not just a number. And some of you may be in a practice area. They say, oh, Sharon, that's unrealistic. I would never be able to do that. Or I have clients I've never even met. I don't care. Even if you never met them, you still talk to them on the phone. You still email with them. Learn a little bit about them. They want to be prioritized. Last year, when we did the Young Partners Accelerator, we had 2 partners, one from TransUnion and one from Google. Big firms, big firms. These 2 clients shared what they want from their partners that are in law firms. And this is what they want, exactly what Tim said. They want to feel important. So thank you, Tim, for letting me call you out on that and for sharing with everybody. I really appreciate that. All right, so client relationship, it's all about the client relationship. So you need to ask your firm, do you have funds for me that I can take my clients out? I'm flying out to Idaho and I'd love to take them out to dinner. Do I have funds available to me for that? That's important. So find out. Okay. All right. The last thing in this area before I go to the last topic that I want to talk about is management, which we've talked a little bit about in the team area, but management and decision-making responsibilities. This goes along with you being a leader, but not just the leader of your team, but being the leader of the firm. When you understand the strategy of the firm or the office or the practice group, then you can really be part of the decision-making process. In your firm, you know whether or not there are votes or no votes. It depends on the structure of your firm, whether there are voting rights or not. So understand your level of voting responsibility. And if you have the responsibility, and those of you in the United States, if you have the responsibility, vote. And at work, you need to vote also. But part of the decision-making, having the responsibility for voting, is doing your research and understanding what your decisions are. And I'm just going to pick on a merger. All right. So as a partner, if your firm is looking at merging with another firm, a smaller firm, a bigger firm, maybe it's just bringing laterals in and you have to vote on whether or not this lateral is accepted. Do your homework. I have worked with too many law firms where the partners say, oh, my vote doesn't count. Sounds like the United States, right? Your vote always counts, right? So in the firm, if they're going to bring a lateral in or they're going to merge with a small firm, do your own research. right? Go online, talk to people, find out. Granted, if it's 100% confidential, you have a little difficulty talking to other people, but you could definitely do research. You could definitely get in there and find information out so that you're an educated voter. That's really important for a law firm. I worked with a firm that took on, and I don't know if we have anybody from Italy on the call. I was with a firm that took on an Italian office, a US firm that took on an Italian office. There was such a difference in how the Italians in this office practice law to the way the Americans practice law. The Italians wanted to be not so much paper, signing engagements, and it was more handshakes and their word. And the US wanted, papers and the bureaucracy and all of this. And that relationship ended up not working out after a year. And they decided not to let that marriage keep going. They dissolved that relationship. Had the partners done the research and said at the time of the vote, well, let's look at this. Let's figure out how the Italians work versus how we work. The Italians in this particular office work, how we work. Maybe they would have saved themselves a lot of money and a lot of heartache and a lot of aggravation. So it's important that you do your homework. That is a firm responsibility, a firm expectation that they don't articulate to you. A lot of firms just think, oh, your partner now, throw you in the deep end and you're just going to figure it all out. Well, you don't figure it out. I'm sharing with you some important aspects of what the firm expects of you. That's why I love doing this type of training, because it's important for you to at least have an aha moment, like, oh, I need to learn this if I don't know it. Right. Any questions about firm expectations? Is there an expectation that I didn't address that you'd like me to touch on? Granted, I can't address all of it. We only have, a few minutes on each topic. Anything you'd like for me to address? Okay, so the last few minutes that we're together, I want to talk about ownership mentality, and then I'm going to open it up to Q&A at the end, okay? But to start out with ownership mentality, I want to start with a poll. And this poll is to see where you feel in your own ownership mentality. So if you could read and take a vote. Remember, I told you voting is good. Okay, we've got some equity partners. We've got some income partners here. All right. A few who are not sure how they feel about it. I love your honesty. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. But look, we've got the income partner, I'm only an income partner. So, I don't really feel like an owner, but then I have the equity partners who say, yes, I feel like an owner. All right. Terrific. I'm so pleased to get that information. All right. So let's talk about the ownership mentality. You got a phone call, hopefully, or you got an email that said you're voted into partner, right? So how did you feel? How did you feel? Put it in the chat. You got the phone call, you got the email. How did you feel? Extremely proud. Yes. Excited. You achieved.
Thank you.
Oh, gotta mute. Somebody needs to mute themselves. Okay, you've completed the goal. You made it to partner, right? That is it's a goal achieved, as Carrie says here. Relieved. All right, Jennifer, that's an interesting verb to use, because it is a little bit of relief to get the partnership title. But the partnership title doesn't necessarily mean you've embraced the whole partnership mentality, all right, or the owner mentality. This is how you know whether or not you actually have an owner mentality. This is a absolutely 100% true story of a woman in Boston. She said the day that she made partner, not the day, but the week that she made partner, and her name was her name was Susan. She's now the managing partner of the office that I'm talking about. She said the day that she made partner, she was walking from the reception desk down the hallway to the doors to get to where the offices were, and she noticed a paperclip on the floor. She said she knew she was a partner when she bent down and picked up that paperclip. Why? Why did she know she was a partner? Because she picked up a paperclip. What do you think? You can unmute yourself if you want to, instead of typing it. She felt responsible for the office. That's it, exactly. From one day to the next, she cared that there was a paperclip on the floor. I love this woman. She told that story at a new partner orientation that I was running, and it's always stayed with me. That's when you know you have a partnership ownership mentality. But here's the difference. Well, not the difference, but this is very United States focused. All right. So I just want to share that with you. In the business world, if it's a ma and pa, right? It's your family business. Somebody's bringing you along. If you're manufacturing, they're putting you on the manufacturing floor, and then they're putting you in the packing, shipping area, and then they move you up, and then only until the owner, the father or the mother retires, do you take over, right? Or God forbid they pass away, you take over. They're building the ownership mentality along the way. So last year, I did a lot of research and I wrote a couple of articles on ownership mentality. Law.com, I think, published one of my articles on this. I did a lot of research, and what law firms don't do is that bringing you along. They're not sharing the finances, the lack of transparency. You're just workers, you're just worker bees. And then boom, you make partner, and they expect you to put this new ownership hat on. So how do you go from one day your title is associate to the next day your title is partner? How do you do that in your brain? She picked up a paperclip. That's when it clicked in her brain that she's now an owner of the firm. So I'm going to put out to you that you need to think about the firm first. If you think about the firm first, then you know you have an ownership mentality. If you think about yourself first, you're just working for yourself. And by the way, lots of lawyers, lots of partners just put themselves first. You can be a partner and be successful and put yourself first. You have an ownership mentality when you put the firm first. Do you guys see the difference in that way of thinking? Okay. When you care about the firm, then you think about the technology that the firm is using. You think about the building that it's in. Do we have good space for people to work? Do we care whether people are hybrid and they're coming to work or not? It goes beyond your circle, and you're looking broader and wider. That's an ownership mentality. Part of the ownership mentality goes back to what I said before about being a team player. It's not just being a team player, but really caring about your partners. I worked with a firm, a 148-year-old firm. These partners, nobody was 148 years old, but some of these partners had been partners for 50 years. Yes, they were 80 and they needed to retire, and they hadn't retired yet. But these were partners who were partners. They grew up with each other. They practiced law with each other. Their kids knew each other. They went on vacations together. I'm not telling you have to do any of this, but they care about each other. So it's beyond being a team player, which is wonderful. And it's really embracing your firm and your partners as true partners. So that's really important. The next thing is to understand how the firm is put together and how it runs. I don't mean just the finances, understanding the numbers. I mean how the firm functions. How many of you, by raise of hand, can name your person in charge of marketing, your person in charge of finance, your person in charge of operations, your person in charge of paralegal, your person in charge of facilities, your person in charge of IT, Do you know who all these people are in your firm? Maybe you do. You have a small firm and you do know who all these people are. But know how your firm operates. Know who these people are and create an individual relationship with each of them. It will pay off in droves. If the IT person knows you well, they will help you. Back when I was working in a law firm in the 1990s, when some of you weren't even born yet, probably, the head of IT was a lawyer, but he didn't practice law. He just ran the IT. And the funniest stories about how he'd go to people's homes and set up, this is back in the 1990s before working from home was a thing, but he'd go to their homes and he'd set up their home offices. And, sometimes he'd end up setting up their TV rooms, the movie rooms. It doesn't have a happy ending. One time he went to somebody's house and the children had chickenpox, and he had never had chickenpox as an adult. So he ended up with shingles. It was a terrible story. He's fine. He has 3 kids, so it didn't affect him adversely. But not that you want your IT person to come to your house and help you, but wouldn't it be nice that these individuals help you because they know you? Just like we treat clients the way Tim said, make your clients feel prioritized. If your administrative staff feels a connection to you, they will work hard for you. And as a partner of the firm, you want them to work hard for the firm in its entirety. Does that make sense? I love that some people did raise their hand, that they did know who these people are. Again, smaller firms, it's easier to know. Larger firms, multiple offices, the IT person could sit in a completely different office and you don't actually know them. So understanding how your firm functions on the operations side, critical, especially when you think about strategic plan and growth. A lot of law firms, I was on a panel once that was about law firm mergers. And all the lawyers on the panel talked about merging the practices and merging the lawyers and merging. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm on this panel to talk about merging the staff and merging the secretaries and merging the paralegals and the technology and the accounting, because sometimes lawyers just think about the legal side and not the business side. Your partner now, your owner now, think about the business side. All right. So let's see. The last thing I want to talk about, and then I'll open it up for a few minutes of Q&A, is law firm hierarchy. You know what I mean by hierarchy, right? The pecking order of the partners. Everybody knows that the biggest business developer in the firm has the most clout. Not always. And it doesn't have to be that way, especially if that person is that, no jerk rule. And they happen to be that person that nobody really likes to work with or who's mean to everybody. You don't have to have a firm like that. But I don't want to go, that's a whole other topic. But let's talk about firm hierarchy. Know what the pecking order is. This is part of succession planning, which is how I began this whole discussion. Let me bring it back. In the succession planning, look to who the next firm leaders are going to be. You always want to look who your client succession planning is going to be, but you need firm leadership succession planning. If you are in the Atlanta office of something and you'd like to see yourself the head of that office, let it be known. Go to the current head of the office and talk to that person about what their responsibilities are and ask, how long do I have to work here before, I could say you could step down and I could step up. Learn the hierarchy, the pecking order of the lawyers, and that will serve you well in just growing your career and knowing whose toes to step on and whose toes not to step on, because I have seen careers end. And I will tell you just a quick little story. Old partner, 20-year-old client, this partner got all the origination credit for this. And that's a whole other topic, origination credit. Young partner doing all the client work, but bringing in all of the new work. This old client has 1 foot out the door. This new partner, it's not a new partner, it's like a 5-6 year partner doing all the work, has an entire base of 4 associates, paralegals, litigator. And he went to the firm and he said, It's not fair that this old lawyer gets all the origination credit when I'm originating all of this new work. I would like a bigger piece of this. And the firm said, no, we're not going to give it to you. What did he do? He left. What did he take with him? The main client, the one that they were fussing over, all 4 associates and 2 paralegals. That's that. This is not Ray. This is another guy, but it's like the Ray story. Marty was such a great leader, such a good practice area and the firm did not do right by him. He up and he left. And so ownership, he was trying to be an owner of the firm. He wanted to feel a piece of the firm. This was a larger firm that had these old rules that they were following. Communication is important. Talk to your partners, learn from them, and you will be able to step into your partnership role. So with that, I want to tell you a couple of things. All right, we have just a few minutes left. One, I want to put up a slide to tell you that everything that I've talked about is just touching on what this program that I ran last year, and it was such a big success. I'm a crazy lunatic and I decided to run it again. So we're going to be running it again in September this year, and it's going to be in Chicago. So please at least come and look at the brochure. You can download it from the website. See if taking what we just touched on today deeper. It's a 2-day interactive workshop. People all over the United States, actually North America, because we had people as far south as Mexico and as far north as Canada and California to New York and Florida. We had people from all over come. Those are friends from Poland, our friends from wherever. You are invited. I don't know if you want to come all the way for 2 days, but you are invited to join us as well. But we're also going to send you after this a PDF that does a little bit of a summary of the important things that you need to know as new partners. And some of it is focused on what I've talked about, and half of it is focused more on the business development. I told you we could do a whole day of business development, a whole half day of business development on it. So we've got some tips on that. At the Accelerator, we actually do a half day workshop on that. So from the Accelerator, you will walk away with an actual list of things that you will do when you get back to the firm. The greatest compliment I got at the end of last year's Accelerator was a partner who came up to me and said, see, this is filled with notes. I'm going to go back to my firm and I'm going to share with them technology changes we should have, talk to them about AI, talk to them about strategic planning, talk to them about all the things that we can do to take the firm forward. And that gave me joy. That gave me joy because that's why I do the Young Partner Accelerator. I did it for years for firms. Now I do it inside a firm for a firm, for only their partners. Now I've opened it up for those people like you who weren't offered that training in your firm. So that's important. So you'll get the PDF, and please at least download the brochure and take a look at this. And with that, we are at the top of the hour. Or bottom of the hour. I will stay on the line. Eduardo will stay on the line. If you need to go, I totally understand. But we are happy to answer any questions that you have, discuss any topics any further with you. Thank you all very much for joining.